part of it is elements introduced into your lifestyle. So I think one of the things like we also talked about was like oxytocin too. Simple things like that, man, like a hug. Like, not even kidding you. Because oxytocin is most associated with like feelings of like love.
Right.
And you think about like Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, or for people who are unfamiliar with that, essentially it's a pyramid. And at the base of the pyramid is like one of these needs that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for your human being. And at the top of the pyramid is like also one of the needs, but it's not as foundational as you know, like what's at the bottom. But let me pull this up because I remember it. I just don't remember the order.
Mm.
So at the base of the pyramid is your psychological needs, like food, water. Not psychological, physiological.
Mm.
Food, water, warmth, stuff like that. Um, Second is like safety. Then like in the middle of the pyramid, which is like your third highest, is like love and belongingness. So like if you're eating and you're in a safe space, like now what? And so if you have like low oxytocin levels, it's like, yo, you want to feel loved. You want to feel like you belong. Like
Mm-hmm.
to be third on this like list of needs, like it's really important to have interaction socially to like, hear people call you. Like that's why one of the more damaging things you can do, or I shouldn't say damaging, but like negligent, even unintentionally,
Mm.
is when somebody's like, I'm going through depression or I'm really hurt, I'm really down, and you be like, hey, just reach out to me if you need help. They're probably not going to reach out to you because if
Yeah.
they were, then they would have reached out already, but they can't
Yeah.
even help themselves. So it's
Mm-hmm.
imperative that you reach out to them because
Yeah.
they need a lifeline.
Yeah. Because I mean, there have been times where I've been depressed, and I don't say anything until after.
Yeah,
And I've had people say multiple times, why, like, hey man, just call me if you need to talk or whatever.
it's not that easy.
It's not that easy, and these there's been times where people have said this to me, having experienced it for themselves, and that's the one thing that I think confuses me a lot is how people that have experienced depression
Yeah.
uh uh can view it that way, where it's just like, just reach out to me, like, you know just like I know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that I can just do, you know.
Um, and it sucks for the people who do know that and don't do differently or better.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who don't know that, like it is extremely important that you understand. Like when people are going through depression, like your motivation to do basic functions is extremely low, and
Mm-hmm.
it does affect you on a physiological level,
Mm-hmm.
like your mental state, as we talked about with dopamine, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel good even without the aid of caffeine, you're going to do more, you're going to be more productive, you get your second wind, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
mental state strongly affects your physical state. We talk about people who might be hypochondriacs, and it's
Yeah,
like, oh, you're just making stuff up. Like, no, you can literally cause yourself to be sick just by thinking you're sick.
I was just about to ask you about that. Like, what are some of the effects? um like, I've seen it with myself, but like, what are some effects that come along with depression and anxiety?
Man, so like with depression, like mentally or physically, you can definitely induce like stress hormones.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely cause what they call oxidative stress. So like certain chemical processes that go on within your body, um, man, you can cause those to go like negatively,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like a car. I love using metaphors and examples to explain things to people, especially for people who can't necessarily see this YouTube video but hear the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who's driven a car before, you know that your speedometer is showing how fast you can go. Next to your speedometer is showing how many revolutions per minute, things are turning in that engine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this thing called a red line.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go into the redlining zone because your engine is going like overboard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, temporarily, it might be okay and you can drop back down. But if you stay in that zone too long, you cause damage. You can overheat, you could blow something, you
Mm-hmm.
could burn or melt something, you could pop something, you could cause leaks and bursts and all type of things internally. The reason I point that out is because why is the red line existent? Why can you go there?
Mm-hmm.
It's natural for you to have the ability and the option to go into this zone.
Mm-hmm.
However, you also need to be aware of it so you don't go into that zone. Depression
Yeah.
and anxiety is you going into the red line. You're able to quote unquote use willpower, right? That's just a generic term we use for like pushing yourself past things mentally, like unlocking things physically.
Right.
Like I'm feeling mentally at this state and I can ignore these things and push past like physical boundaries. Cool. Like you might be able to do that purposefully, excuse me. But like when you have depression and anxiety, like some of that stuff isn't on purpose anymore. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
leaks, there are breaks, there are, bends, there are bursts, there are all types of things that go wrong. And you're instantly redlining until that gets fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like depression and anxiety is like you being in that red zone too long to the point where now you have caused damage that needs to be fixed because at this point you're going to immediately redline now because
Right.
what you
Right.
have is like broken until repair.
Right.
um and it's like you can cause yourself to gain weight, you can slow down your metabolism, you
Mm-hmm.
can decrease your energy levels, you can disrupt your sleep, you can have hair loss. um I mean, you could cause like really like terrible like gastrointestinal stress,
Mm-hmm.
like where you have like diarrhea or your blockage, and some of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff might seem like giggly to some folks. It's like, nah, that's real. Like your body's not getting rid of waste properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is going to cause like a buildup of damage internally. You know,
Yeah.
like man, I you get like fever blisters, and like and cause like flare ups of stuff like just from stress alone.
What is that?
A fever blister. So there are two types of like herpes viruses:
Okay.
herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's not more than two, but one of them is like the herpes where it's like, nah, bro, stay back,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is like kind of only flares up under certain conditions because it's a virus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you got a cold.
Mm-hmm.
A cold is a virus, the rhinovirus.
Mm-hmm.
However, unless certain conditions are met, you won't see the symptoms of a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like a fever blister is typically associated, I think, with herpes simplex too. I have to fact check that later. By all means, anybody who's listening, if I'm incorrect, please let me know. And like under certain conditions, like physiologically, or externally or internally, like you can cause yourself to get like, one of those blisters that like fills up with pus and look like those little bumps that you gotta,
Mm-hmm.
kind of cover up. That's why they make stuff like a Breva and all that to get rid of those like little bumps, because it's really just like stress causing infection and pus and all types of nastiness and swelling and all that stuff like in the mouth area.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, or you could get it worse. You could have genital herpes.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets real in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. just
Jesus,
being
man.
honest, man.
Jesus.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. And so you end up having people that are treating the well, not the symptom, the after effect of depression instead of addressing the actual like chemical imbalance then, right?
yeah. So Um, so I can put it like this, right? Like I went through a major depression last year. Like first time like I've ever gone through anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I prayed the last time. Like I'm working out like 5 to 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've done like a 3D body scan of my total body weight alone. 225 pounds of my body weight was all muscle, and then the rest was fat. So you talking about like
Wow.
your average linebacker in the NFL as an entire person. I'm just that in muscle alone, right?
Wow.
So it's like I ate a lot. Like I know
Wait, hold on.
what's up.
Where do you get these scans? I know
Well,
you have access to a lot of stuff, but
no,
like,
no, was this is actually
I would
at a
love to know
particular.
that.
No, you can do that, bro. Like it's at a particular gym, chain I was with. This is by no
Okay.
means a promotion of any sort of any kind. It's just a factual statement.
Mm,
I was at a chain called a Crunch Fitness,
okay.
and they give you a free 3D body scan. And it uses like I'm not sure if they use millimeter waves or magnetic waves, but in principle, it operates similarly to like an MRI machine
Mm,
because people don't know that certain like waves are able to like pass through certain things in your body.
mm,
Like X-rays can't pass through your bone, but
mm,
they can pass through everything else. So that's why when you get an image, you can see the bones, but you can't see much, anything else. Meanwhile, like an MRI, like the magnetic waves used by that can pass through everything but like water-based stuff in your body. So you don't see bones in an MRI, but you can see like organs.
right.
Right.
Okay.
So it's just
Okay.
manipulating these things. And this particular scan used a wavelength that was able to access like muscle tissue, composition. And it's also a scale. So I'm standing on a scale,
Mm,
and the scale also rotates. So all these waves can keep shooting at me, almost like those airport scanners.
mm,
And it gets an entire composition of my body, and it breaks down and it's like, okay, we are weighing you on this scale, and we've also imaged your body and actually had like a real 3D image. And it's like, based on like our scans, this much of your composition is muscle, that much of your composition is fat. This is your total weight, and like you're also holding on to two sensors,
mm,
and it's measuring like your respiratory rate, your pulse. So it's like, hey, this is how much energy you're burning at rest. This is how much energy like you typically need to put in your body a day. All these
mm.
fun things, and so like the amount of energy I was burning at rest is like the same as somebody who was like, on a treadmill or something.
That's interesting. Wow.
But
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Kind of
no, you,
that.
man, I talk about science
That's
all day. Well,
that's
not all
interesting.
day. I like
Yeah.
anime too. But, no, but like so to put that in perspective, right?
Mm,
Like I'm in the gym every day because, or almost every day, I'm like keeping up my muscle. Like
mm.
my metabolism is like off the charts. Like I literally am hungry like every 90 minutes. And
Wow.
to put that in perspective, I'm not eating like a stupid big meal every 90 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but like I do need to eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be like, a sandwich, or it might be like, a really healthy sandwich and some side, or,
Mm,
like pasta dish, or, two tuna steaks or something, or whatever. Tuna is
mm,
cheap. So don't y'all come and be like, oh, bro, you rich. Nope. Tuna cheap. But, I went from like eating, multiple times a day, trying to hit my like daily goal of like 4,000 calories, 5,000 calories, to like that, couple protein shakes, everything, bro. I was probably eating like a bag of chips a day,
oh wow.
or I would have like a big bag of chips, and I might eat like literally a few handfuls of chips a day. I kid
Wow.
you not, like a few handfuls of chips. Um, I just felt like sleeping all day. Like
Mm,
I had absolutely no energy. I had no motivation. It was terrible, man. It was to the point where I didn't want to shower.
mm-hmm.
Man, I probably was taking a shower like every 4 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what depression honest to goodness looks like, and a lot of people don't know this, or they think it's like some simple symptom. It's like, no, like you're
Yeah.
not eating, you're not sleeping, like you're not resting well, like you have no motivation for anything. You can sit in
Mm-hmm.
one spot for hours on end. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to take a shower. You might not
Mm-hmm.
want to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to do anything
Mm-hmm.
associated with day-to-day functions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at like treating the effects of it as opposed to treating the symptoms, you just might say, well, Chris, take a shower and you'll feel better. And it's like, nah, like I took a shower, I still feel depressed. Well,
Yeah.
Chris, get some sleep. Well, I've stayed, up like 20 hours a day for the last 5, 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I'm going to get some sleep, but I don't wake up like, ooh, depression gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to treat what's causing the depression.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe for another episode, I'll like delve into like the details of like what was causing my depression.
Yeah.
But as it currently stands, like one of the things that really helped me was like I needed a change of pace. I needed a change
Mm-hmm.
of space.
Mm-hmm.
Moving across the country was one of the best things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now living in LA, like I have an abundance of sunshine.
Right.
Like growing up in Michigan, I love my four seasons. I wouldn't trade those for the world. I've never had seasonal depression.
Mm-hmm.
However, I can say like it's dope waking up to like palm trees every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because for coming from Michigan and being in a valley, like you don't see
Mm-hmm.
palm trees. When you see palm trees, you associate that with like growing up watching Nickelodeon or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
come to
Yeah.
Orlando, Florida, or you look at resorts and you look at islands, and it's like,
Yeah.
yo, I wake up to this every day. Like,
Yeah.
yo, it's mountains right there every day.
Yeah.
Like people talk about swimming in the ocean, and I'm like, yeah, the ocean is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Or any place you talk about visiting, and I'm like, cool, man. I can go to Malibu, I can go to Oxnard, I can, be in Ventura, I can go to Hollywood, Beverly Hills,
Mm-hmm.
Huntington Beach, Long Beach, Laguna Beach, whatever beach. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there. And like that had a significant improvement on my mood. I live in a city that like offers stuff I like to do. I had not been in cities that really had like a lot for like me.
Right.
So it's like, oh no, I have diverse opportunities. It's not just like one or two of the same thing like rebranded. It's like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
I can do a ton of stuff. And people have to like be willing to take those risks and assess those things. Like, what do you need? And I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Some people battle depression and they have children. I get it. That is tough.
Yo.
I know somebody probably listening like, man, I got kids and ain't that easy. I know it's not. 100%
I
know it's not that easy.
I don't know how people like that can actually like function because like, and I thought about that earlier this year, like
Yeah.
having kids and being depressed. I don't know, like, especially like a single parent, I don't know how anything is supposed to get done.
First thing is, and I learned this when I was teaching, honesty, honest, open, real conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I feel like I could say this now. Man, there was some days when I was teaching with some of the like before I went through like my major depression last year, like teaching, I went through some serious depression though.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It would be times, man, I was like taking caffeine pills,
Mm-hmm.
and caffeine pills are like 200 milligrams a pill, so it's supposed to be equivalent to a strong cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I would sit there, I'd pop two pills, and I'd still be like staring off into space, like super lethargic.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I just felt terrible. And I just had to be honest with my students. And I'm like, y'all, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm just not here today. I
yeah.
really need y'all to just chill out. Like, if y'all need me to cut on the movie, I'll cut on the movie, or like no movie today. But like, if y'all want to get on your phones, cool. Just like, please keep it down. Just relax. Don't run across the class. I'm like, I'm just mentally not here.
Yeah.
And I think we take for granted when we get older what
Mm-hmm.
people younger than us like are able to conceptualize and think.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is like, yeah, they might not think or conceptualize on our level, but it's also important for us to teach them to do so.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So if
yeah.
we can teach them at a younger age or a younger stage, then they can do so at a younger age and stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if we avoid having honest conversations about mental health if we avoid having honest conversations about like our well-being, our state of mind,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can never trust people to understand what you're going through.
Right.
And you begin to carry burdens on yourself that you don't need to carry.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, like we hear the stories of Atlas, and Atlas didn't even want to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and we're not Greek myths. You know, we're
Yep.
regular humans that go through real things in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like talk to y'all family, talk to y'all kids, talk to
Yo.
your friends, and family, friends, and kids. I need y'all to also be like receptive and understand like these are real issues. These are things that need to be normalized, and people
Mm-hmm.
need to understand what is existent so we don't brush it off. Like these are
Yeah.
real problems that affect people in very real ways.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things for me was actually like, because again, I never talked about my issues until I
That's
was
real.
already through. And was one thing my parents, my sister would always say, like, you can talk. And
You
I
don't never
think
feel like you can.
I can't. And that was
It's
one thing.
scary.
It is, but I think one of those one of the major reasons is because, and I actually just had this conversation with my parents recently,
Yeah.
actually right after I went through this last bout of depression. But I told them, I said, one of the things that, looking back, like when you say I can come talk to you and all that stuff, one of the reasons why it's hard to do so is because growing up, and
The responses.
I said, like, it wasn't even something that you did purposefully, but I
It
didn't
just
feel
wasn't
like,
what you needed.
no. But I also told myself, I also felt like I wasn't able to emotionally uh I wasn't emotionally validated as a kid.
Woo! And this is
That's
why this is a multi-part series,
Yeah.
or this is
Because
a series, whatever.
yeah, because there's like, there were times where I would say something, or I would react in a certain way, and when I would react, you're responding to my reaction and not the reason why I feel this way. You know what
Let's
I'm saying?
talk about it.
It's just, it's one, and that's I don't even think that's just something that black people deal with. I think that's what
That's
everyone,
everybody.
everyone, you
Man.
know. But as a black man coming into the understanding of who I am now, or even like being comfortable with who I am fully,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I had to, it just, this thing just hit me again within the last month. Like,
Yeah, bro.
wasn't emotionally validated. So, like, when I feel like I'm emotionally vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't validate what I'm going through, when you haven't validated what I've experienced or what I've been expressing in the past, I can't be vulnerable in that moment, not in that space, not in that time. It's hard to share and
Mm-hmm.
trust that I won't just be brushed off. Especially now with my mom, that's less likely. With my
Yeah.
dad, like, man to man, that's one of that's the
Ooh.
harder thing to deal with. I think when you're talking about father son, mother daughter, it's harder in those times. I think moms
Mm,
are more receptive to their sons, and fathers are more receptive to their daughters,
definitely.
because you're able to be open to that opposite gender. But what
Facts.
happens what happens when you have all sons, or what happens when you have all daughters?
And I think part of that is that's a societal issue, and again, that's something we really need to like delve deep into, right? Because when you think about like how society typically operated, and this is why like the term patriarchy was like such a hot topic
Mm-hmm.
because it's basically talking about like the structure of like men having the dominant role in culture,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, in pretty much all aspects, whether it be business, whether it be the home,
Mm-hmm.
and what we pretty much stated dictated how everything went, which depending on what your beliefs are, that's not off. However, how it's operationalized in general, if one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
Most definitely.
And you got girls being raised like, for our generation, like there was the easy bake oven.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
the little baby dolls that like would even pee, and they showed in the commercial like, yeah, she pees like a real baby, and you're nurtured. I mean, excuse me, you're like trained to be like a nurturer from
Mm-hmm.
like 3 or 4. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can see little girls around families like, oh, let me hold the baby, and it's like you're still a baby yourself. Like we're still holding you in our arms, but you're like wanting to hold a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And boys don't think about this stuff. Boys aren't
Mm-hmm.
taught these things. Like while little girls are learning how to use an easy bake oven, like man, we playing with trucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We
Action
watching
figures.
WWE and we wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to be the Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time girls hit 15 or 16, they've had 10 years in of already being a nurturer and a motherly figure, which is why you can be a teenager and be a babysitter and people trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, guys are so immature. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we literally don't have the emotional intelligence that you
Mm-hmm.
have because we weren't taught and it wasn't fostered. We kind
Mm-hmm.
of just figured this out after we bumped our head enough by the
Bro.
time we hit 30 and we didn't have kids, or we're just now having kids. And
Mm-hmm.
what women are like supreme experts at, we are every bit of a rookie, and we're just like, what is this? What
Which
is
is
that? I didn't know
we
I was supposed to not say this.
yep.
And
Which
you don't know until 20, 30 years later, where now your kid is the same age you were when you had them. And you're
mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry for what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't mean any
Exactly.
harm, but the
Exactly.
damage was done.
Yeah.
And that tiny little crack you made has now created a entire canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but you ain't had the intelligence emotionally to prevent it, to mitigate it, to fill that crack in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that cycle just continues and continues and continues. And it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult because dudes aren't told that this is a safe space enough. And there are times
Mm-hmm.
where society, like, we got to all be held accountable. Just
Mm-hmm.
as men, like, might not be the greatest at this, you can't tell a little boy, even as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
be a big boy, stop crying.
Yep.
He's expressing those emotions that he needs to express at a later point, but he's literally been told, hey, bottle that up. Hey, wipe your face, wipe your nose,
Mm-hmm.
quit sniffling. What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? Man up, be
Mm-hmm.
tougher. You're just a
Mm-hmm.
little wimp. Oh, you're a little
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a wimp. I don't want to be a baby. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
about to get in trouble for sniffling again. You're not about
Mm-hmm.
to see me cry because I'm not about to get in trouble for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a man. I'm real tough. I'm real strong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
but and
then when things hurt you, as your human self is gonna get hurt,
mm-hmm.
you don't know how to manage that. You don't
Yeah.
want to go get medication. You don't want to go to therapy.
Yep.
You don't want to seek proper treatment, whether
Yep.
naturally, homeopathic, or chemically, to allow yourself to get over these humps.
Mm-hmm.
And you can carry things generationally, either genetically or cause it socially.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is the reason why it's so hard for us to get into relationships
Ooh,
and
what they say,
see eye to
NIU?
eye. And see eye to eye because we don't even like we don't even have the perspective that something is wrong.
Boy.
You know what I'm saying? I literally just realized this
Ooh.
myself early this year. Like,
Yeah.
yo, I'm not communicating properly because communication is a two-way street. It's speaking and understanding. I'm not doing the understanding part. All I'm doing is speaking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where this is exactly why I feel like we're part of the reason why I feel like we shouldn't even be getting into relationships until mid 20s to 30s because there's so much that we're still trying to work through. And I mean, even it's like well into your 40s or 50s, you're still working through. I think people are always evolving and working through stuff until the day they die, right? But
Facts.
like I think
Or at least you
our
should be.
generation, you should be, yeah. But I think our generation is the first to really do it as early as we're doing it. Because and I was just telling someone this other day. Actually, I was talking about my uncle like like close to a month ago now. Um, that I'm starting to see my dad soften a little bit,
Yeah.
and my grandfather as well. You
Okay.
see, like I feel as if where they are in terms of being a little more sensitive and understanding to things, that's where I am now. Where I feel like I have that 25-year head start to past generations. I feel like our generation of men are right there now where we're just like, okay, you know what? We're becoming more understanding of different things of how, oh, the way they did it, that's not how you do it. Like for example, in my moments of depression, like I'm still uncomfortable with crying. And I'm talking about in my room by myself, lights are off,
Wow.
still can't, like I'm still struggling with, like, let it go, like cry. And I'm fighting myself to cry. You see what I'm
You
saying?
know, was really interesting was I was about to crack a joke as I struggle with that too.
Mm-hmm.
But that also highlights like a very real issue of still having to work with emotional intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
comfortability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because one of the things I could do so easily is crack jokes.
Oh yeah, it's so
Like
easy to do,
it's
bro.
I was about to,
At my
bro. Yes,
grandfather's funeral, I was cracking jokes.
man, and people don't even understand like you're really hurting, but you don't feel comfortable expressing hurt like this. Like I've cried before and people looked at me like I was crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've cried, like, man, I used to like cry mass, like when I got angry,
Mm-hmm.
like I would cry at the same time.
Yeah,
And
I've,
then
I've
all
seen people
people,
like that before.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
because like I have all these emotions at once. It's like so I typically don't get angry, but like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm sad, I really don't cry either. And this is like an overwhelming overflow of emotions
Mm-hmm.
all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a rage. And I'm like, yo, you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to get upset
Yeah.
because you go off. But
Yeah.
the problem is I was like, yo, how do I like let this stuff out otherwise? Because
Mm-hmm.
all I'm gonna do is get upset because you laughing at me when I'm crying.
Yeah.
They be like, "Why are you crying? Chin up." I don't feel like chin up right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody just died. I don't feel like chin up right now because I feel like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those like when you go back to the earlier question you asked, like, how do you mitigate some of this stuff? What you're telling me to do is like actually just changing something in the right now circumstance, but you're not actually telling me how to mitigate this issue in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I used the example earlier is like if I'm going through depression and that's causing me to not take showers, taking a shower is not going to cause me to get out of depression.
Yeah.
Right, having fun, having socialization, feeling loved, feeling like I belong, having a routine,
Mm-hmm.
feeling a sense of purpose,
Mm-hmm.
that will help me get out of depression. When I feel those things, I'm going to take showers because I desire to. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to eat because I desire to. Right,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm going to be like kempt because I desire to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like simply taking care of one of these things that like fell off the market is not a remedy to fixing the overall issue.
Right.
And so it's just like we really have to get better at like understanding how these things work. Because again, you see those memes and they talk about people like Robin Williams. And they're like, but he
Yo.
made so many people laugh. And it's like, that doesn't mean he wasn't going through things. He probably didn't feel like he had an outlet to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, jokes aside, like to a degree, like I did crack a few jokes and some of them were funny, but after so long, it got kind of old. And I'm like, man, I feel sorry for Will Smith
Yo.
because he's an immensely funny and talented dude, but like he's starting to bare his soul, and the internet is eating him up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Mm-hmm.
talking about like, yo, my son didn't want to legally be my son anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter wanted a dead guy, to be like her father. Like I went through these
Wait,
issues with my
wait, wait,
wife,
wait. Hold up.
Tupac.
It's word.
Oh yeah, apparently like she had wrote a letter to like Tupac and it was like, I'm crying, and though I've never met you, I feel like I've known you my whole life. And yeah, I know, don't bro.
Bro, that'd be grounds for divorce right there.
Oh man, hey, that red
Yo,
table is hot, bro. Let me tell
bro,
you.
there is no way. There is no way.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's like you already got to know, how does she feel like she knows Tupac and ain't never met Tupac? Because it wasn't for Will.
nah, it wasn't. Mm-mm. Yo,
Hey, hey, bro. I Hey, if anybody feel you, I feel you. You heard Crunk Juicer like, hey, if anybody feel you, I feel you, bro.
like, look, yeah, I'll crack jokes too. I crack jokes too.
Yeah, dog. Yeah.
It's not something you can avoid.
Like
But at
hide the
this,
pain here.
right, right, right. But
Facts.
it's one of those things though, like because like dude is obviously going through stuff. You could see it
Yeah, definitely.
when he was on Red Table Talk
Yeah,
discussing this
yeah.
whole thing. You could see it like that was transparent. But
Oh yes.
I think that's one of the things that the idea that we're starting to like as men though
Yeah.
look at it and be like, yo, this is funny. But on the flip side, yo, like, dude is really going through something. To me, like, honestly, I feel like that shows the progression in where we are now. Like, because had this happened in like in our parents' generation or earlier, yo, look,
Bro.
look.
Bro.
If Richard Pryor were alive, do you know how
Oh
many
my God.
jokes think let this have happened in the 80s? You see what I'm saying?
Man,
If this had happened
bro.
in the 70s or 80s,
Hey, you gotta fight somebody after that.
bro. Oh no, fighting is not an option. Like, dude is like straight up dying. Like it's
Bro, Richard Pryor would have had a
oh
field
he would oh man,
day.
he would have had so much fun with this.
Eddie Murphy would have made it worse.
Oh,
You
Red
know, I
Fox would have ripped into him.
man, Red Fox would have made him cry. I'm thinking guys like Andrew Dice Clay
Bernie
and
Mac.
how, oh man, bro. Oh. Hey, like, but this is real though.
Yeah, yeah,
And you got
yeah.
like this generation that feels like, yo, we gotta hold it in. Like, what are you doing? Why
Mm-hmm.
are you doing this?
Why are you talking about it publicly? Because that's another thing. Like I think that we've made this
Whew.
evolution in society where it's okay to discuss the things that you're dealing with. Like us have sitting down, have this conversation talking about depression and anxiety. 10 years ago,
Definitely not
we're not
happening.
having this conversation.
Definitely not happening.
5 years ago, we're not having this conversation.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like we're at least making this progress where we're thinking about things differently. We're at least making a consideration of like, hey, this might not be the best thing to laugh at.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like it's because I know
Like,
some of the things that I've gone through. It's just like, yo, like if if laughing was the thing that made me feel better in different situations where like at funerals or something like that, where like the only way I can get through is if I'm laughing to myself, even just like
yeah.
I'm not even making jokes at people, right? But for example, my at my grandfather's funeral, I was one of the pallbearers. This is what 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm one of the pallbearers, and the only way I could even like mentally get through the thought of holding this onto this casket was thinking about him just like popping up and going booga booga. Like it's the
Like,
stupidest thing.
no, but it's like you'd rather be overwhelmed with something that silly because dealing with the grief and the sadness is debilitating.
Bro. I mean, and it was the hardest thing. In fact, that was the first death that I actually felt. Like my grandmother died when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't know her, right?
Mm-hmm.
It still hurts me because I didn't grow up around her,
I feel you.
and I didn't experience a lot of things that other people experienced growing up with going to their grandmother's house and all that stuff. I never experienced any of that, but like at 20, going through that where I'm just like, yo, this is the first time I ran to the bathroom to cry. I didn't cry in the during the service.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there just like, stoic, right? Real,
Mm-hmm.
real, real stone face. But before the funeral started, before the service started, I'm in the bathroom bawling my eyes out. And then when my dad came in there, yo, I'm trying to like but he's
Yeah.
like, he sees it. He's like, yo, you like, I know. He's like, this is the first person you've lost. Like, I get it. And but it's one of those things where it's just like, and I even see like in with the change with my relationship with my dad now. Like, I'm talking about within the last 6 months. Like, I just started seeing this summer um where like he's actually like acknowledging certain things with me. And I'm like, yo, like, I didn't realize these are things that I needed when I was a kid. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
man. No,
It's like
1000% I feel that.
it's like you're getting that validation as a man where like, yo, I needed this as a kid. And not even to blame my dad, because I get like
Yeah.
the process. I get I get the chain of events. I get how all that happened, right? But it's like this is what I needed as a
Yeah.
kid. So now I know when I become a father, yo, like I can make sure that my kids are emotionally validated. I can make sure my kids know this is a safe space for you to talk to me. I don't care how you say it. I don't care like how you like the emotions that you have. If like here is a good space for you to vent so we can work through, because like I think that's another thing. Like we weren't taught like how to properly work through our feelings,
Bro,
and so that
between
comes out in a violent way.
it, it,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
violent and bro, really, like when my grandma died,
Mm-hmm.
um, she died when actually, man, it was like a week before I was supposed to defend my thesis.
Oh wow.
And I remember like having to reschedule it, and I drove back to Michigan, and like that whole week, like prepping for everything, like I did not cry. I made it
Mm-hmm.
back to Michigan, man, like I did not cry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something crazy. Like I pull up to the funeral home, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her in the casket, and unbeknownst to me, man, actually, no, prior to that, it was two things that happened. One, man, I was driving on the highway,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like when we talk about like managing emotions. Like I had no idea I was gonna cry. Like I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
literally chilling, listening to music, and tears started flowing from my eyes like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
crazy. It was to the
Mm-hmm.
point where like I literally couldn't see where I was going,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
kind of thrown off because I'm like, I'm chilling. Why am I crying so hard right now? And I
Mm-hmm.
had such an emotional disconnect that I was able to logically process the fact that I'm crying while like still feeling so overwhelmed that I'm
Mm-hmm.
crying. And
Mm-hmm.
like it didn't even click to me
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm so detached from my emotions and how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with them. Like
Mm-hmm.
seeing her, like I cried again, and I'm like, why am I crying? And it
Yeah.
wasn't the simple fact that I could just be like, let it out. I'm asking myself, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah. Because we're programmed that way.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot of unlearning that we have to do as a society, but as men, like,
Bro, yes.
like we have and especially as black men, we have a lot of stuff that we have to break down and work through, which is like again why I think it's almost better for us to wait on either relationships or having kids
That's real.
so young, because I like that's God.
No, I mean, emotionally, there are things that we aren't ready for because there are things that we
Mm-hmm.
also haven't experienced.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that we have experienced and we haven't emotionally processed the weight or the depth of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that makes a lot of sense. All of that is valid. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we give enough weight to it
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think about these things till I did therapy. By the way, quick plug, y'all, please go to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I used to think therapy was like some crackpot suggestion of like, man, I'm crazy. I got to sit on this couch and I
Mm-hmm.
got to tell you all these things, and you just judging me. And it's like, all right, well, why are you doing this? Well, this is what you need to do. And
Mm-hmm.
reality is, therapy is like your best friend without the judgment and without the bias.
Right, right, right.
And it's like somebody that can give you very like, focus adjustments because they're not thinking of your past, they're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking of your present, they're not thinking of your future. Like with all these, well, I remember when and I know about you. No,
Mm-hmm.
you got to tell them, and then they're able to spot like gaps in like what you're saying. They're able to
Right.
spot connections in what you're saying. They're able
Mm-hmm.
to help you like view it from different angles and piece it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, for lack of a better word, therapeutic. It's relieving. There it
Right,
is.
right,
Like
right.
it's very relieving and it's very insightful. And it wasn't until I did therapy where I like realized some stuff I had to work on. Because whenever I explained stuff, I didn't realize how emotionally detached I was to my therapist stopped me and was like, Kristen, whenever you discuss stuff, she's like, you're very well spoken,
Mm-hmm.
but you tend to tell me things logically. How do you feel?
But see, that's how we operate. We
Exactly.
operate with logic.
Exactly. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, so I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. That's all
Yeah.
there is to it.
That's
And
it.
she's like, but how does
Yeah.
that really make you feel? I'm like, it don't matter how I feel.
Yeah.
I can't do this, or I don't need to do this, or I won't do this.
Yeah.
Who cares how I feel?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
feelings don't pay bills, Feelings don't do these things. Feelings ain't gonna get me the job. I operate in my feelings, I
Mm-hmm.
could lose this, I could lose
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity, I could lose the deal. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, forget my feelings. Nobody cares about my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And this person is like, I care. And it just, like, I started crying and I'm like,
Right when
why
you
are
heard that,
you,
right?
bro? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I
Mm-hmm.
felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went from the age of 14 to like 24, and I probably cried literally 4 times.
Sounds about
And I
right.
remember each specific time I
Mm-hmm.
cried because I was so pissed that like I wasn't getting enough clock on the baseball team. And that's when I was 14. I cried uh when one of my childhood friends, man, this is like the first real loss I had when he died my senior year of college
Mm-hmm.
abruptly. I cried some extremely random, unforsaken night with my homeboys. And this is a absolutely hilarious story that would never make a podcast. And we was just all like crying, and we was like, "Why are we crying?" It's like, "I'm crying because you cried." It was like, "You made me cry." Bro, it was terrible. It was just like, and we can look back at it and laugh. We were like, "Bro, we were tweaking."
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
actually, on a like for real deal, no though, like we really weren't tweaking. It was like one of the like realest expressions that we actually needed to make. But
Mm-hmm.
as me and you have already spoken about, dudes aren't really taught to do stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
so we really it was like weird for us because the reality was I remember now we started crying because it was like, yo, man, we've been on this journey together through college, like, and it's been dope. And it wasn't like we just been friends through undergrad. It's like, yo, we literally were like 18-year-old boys and
Mm-hmm.
we've entered in manhood
Mm-hmm.
together and we've shared like a ton of experiences.
Right.
Happy, sad, funny, angry, some of them like near death and everything, like finances, like we
Mm-hmm.
shared so much. And we're like, yo, this is not going to be the same anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused like this overwhelming flood of emotions that we didn't know how to deal with.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
the fourth time was when my grandma passed. So it's like
Hmm.
in that 4 year span, like I cried once every like on average, like, you know, technically every 2.5 years, but the reality was
Hmm.
like 14, uh 20,
Hmm.
1, 21, and 24.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think I did the same thing from like 12 to 27, 11 to 27.
And it's
My
like, yeah,
my dad almost died. My mom almost died. So my dad almost died when I was 11. My mom almost died when I was 15, 16. Had a had a guy that I didn't really know him too well,
mm-hmm.
but his little brother and his mom I knew very well. Still to this day. I look at him as like a little brother, but his older brother was my age. We both graduated high school same
Okay.
time. Going from high school graduation to college that summer, he got shot and killed. So
Okay.
I cried over that because of how it was going to affect his family,
Yeah. That's super real.
people that are family to me, right? My grandfather, and then at 20, and then I think 2027, um, my last relationship, um, uh, stuff happened with us, and then like because she lives in Pennsylvania. I went up there one day, and um, we were in a long distance relationship, of course. So I went up there, and she and I actually just talked everything out.
Yeah.
And my the entire time, like, because I was I was one in the wrong,
Yeah.
and she comes over to me, puts her hands on my face, and said like, "Listen, everything's okay. Like, I love you. I'm not I'm not judging you on XYZ." And I right right there, that ugly cry. Like I was just sitting, I was
Bro.
like no, I was like her hands,
Whew.
like my face is in her hands, and I'm just like, bro. I felt
Yeah.
like, and I
Yeah.
was like, stop it, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying. But I like I can't stop crying. And then
Because you never felt something like that before.
like, but like just a simple act of just like you said, the touch, right? So it's like,
So what's really fun? Oh,
no,
like
no, no. I
when
was no good, good.
yeah, and this is important to know, right? Because going back to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like,
Mm-hmm,
love and belongingness is like third, like 3 out of 5, but like the fourth one is like esteem, like respect, status, recognition.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But like you got to think about it. In order to get like respect and to get recognition and all that, prior to that, you need to have friendship, intimacy, a connection. But even before that, you need security,
yeah,
safety
yeah, yeah,
needs.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
mental security is just as important as like physical security,
yeah.
because granted, if your physical body dies, then nothing matters mentally,
Mm-hmm,
and some things can be off mentally, but physically you can still be safe. At the same
mm-hmm,
token, your mental drives your physical.
mm-hmm,
So it's like, I understand in those moments you were able to connect with somebody, feel like you were loved and that you belonged, and that
mm-hmm,
like let your sense of connection flourish,
mm-hmm,
and you felt free enough to like let whatever issues you had in esteem like just flow.
bro.
And I've been there, and it's, yeah, like since I've had a better understanding of myself emotionally, probably
Mm-hmm.
around 2019, and I unlocked it, I went from like having cried like 4 times in 10 years to probably having cried like 10 or 15 times in a year.
I was just about to say the same thing. I think
Yeah, man.
since 18 for me, 2018 till now, I especially in the last year.
I
Actually,
lost count.
I was about to say, you know what? 18 till 20, because last year I was completely emotionally unavailable. Like
Oh,
I
really?
couldn't feel anything, and I didn't understand why. Like I was so, I think it was like being emotionally backed up. Like I was like I couldn't feel anything. And that was also why you know, that relationship ended, because I could not, I couldn't be there in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this whole year has just been me getting that, like like fixed and turning that around, because of the fact that, like, during that space last year, and this is apart from the pandemic. Like, of course the
Yeah, yeah,
pandemic
yeah, for
played a
sure.
part of it, but this is like removing that whole, because I don't even want that as an excuse.
Right.
Like, I was just so, like, I was tight. I couldn't figure out why. Like, I wanted things, certain things to be done a certain way, and I wanted to move into the next step of life and everything like that, right? But, like, I couldn't figure out how to get there. And again, it's the overthinking, where, like, my overthinking is just boom, 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 and it's leading to anxiety, a lot of anxiety, then going into depression and trying to, like, go
Yeah.
back into my old ways to just shake it off, and you're good. And it was draining, completely draining. So again, this year has just been just unlearning a lot of things that has damaged me a lot, and that's not to say there's no more depression or anxiety, because of course, you
Oh no,
know
man, it can, it's real. I
but
mean, I know if I
Jesus.
get caught slipping, I can go back into depression. I know that for a fact.
Hmm.
And I've even battled it since making this move, because there are
Hmm.
certain things that have like kind of like triggered me. Like I fully get it, bro.
Hmm.
And that's why we talk about like those four main chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Hmm.
Because like serotonin, the mood stabilizer, like how do you get that? Like, yeah, man, walk in the sun, like do things that are like beneficial to your body, run,
Hmm.
exercise. Because one of the reasons that I had such a strong trigger of major depression, so like it literally just happened.
Hmm.
Besides so much that I was going through, it really happened during COVID-19 and the shutdowns, and I
Hmm.
couldn't go to the gym.
Right.
And so you
Right.
talk about like going 5, 6 times a week. I'm spending like hours in there. It's literally like my safe space, my sanctuary, and I'm listening to music. Um, and also to note, as a musician, like I love music, sounds. I like I see
Hmm.
sounds. I operate with them.
Hmm.
Um, I probably listen on average to like 28 to 35,000 minutes of music a year.
Yo, I don't even know how to measure that, bro.
Spotify.
Oh, see, I'm on title, so
Yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
know.
I mean, I didn't even really realize like I was listening to that much, right? But like
Hmm.
if I'm in the gym, I'm listening, I'm like knocking out albums, I'm just chilling, I'm listening to it on the way to the gym, on the way back.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's
Hmm.
excluding like my usage of YouTube that I do at night, like where I listen to stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I constantly listen to motivational talk, sermons, and so forth. But it's like putting all that in perspective is like because I didn't have access to these realms, I didn't have the same sense of like pleasure from these activities. So I
Hmm.
wasn't listening to music. I wasn't listening to anything. I wasn't like following, these trends. And as a
Hmm.
consequence, like I slipped into a very crazy depression
Right.
because I'm not exercising. I'm not, stabilizing my mood and releasing like in the gym, weights and cardio and music all at once.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't able to do self-care activities. My dopamine levels were low. Like it
Hmm.
caused me to like not celebrate little wins because what am I winning at? I can't stabilize myself. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like I felt isolated, you know, and
Hmm.
that's when you like lower your oxytocin, where sometimes you just need a hug, man. Like I was looking at random folk and I'm like, man, I don't even have time to explain. Like I don't mean this in a weird way. I was like, can I just get a hug? Like, and like people, I'm like, someone cool with at minimum. I'm like, I really just need a hug.
Hmm.
And it was like the power of that because it was like, I just feel so ridiculously low,
Hmm.
so low. And it was crazy, like being away from family,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And sometimes you can feel like that way, like with family. It just depends on your situation, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why it was important. And thank God, like I'm a chemist
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
know how to like dissect research papers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found like treatments because I actually got to the point where I felt like I needed a psychiatrist because I needed somebody to prescribe medication for me to help my mood.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't able to get in, and so that's when I used my everyday genius. No, but like I looked up papers and
Mm-hmm.
I found like certain either over the counter medicines or like natural medicines performed at the same levels as like pharmaceutical like drugs that were put on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was like St. John's wort, which is a herb, African herb.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't use that one because it increases photosensitivity. Like basically, it increases your sensitivity to light, which can
Mm-hmm.
cause like sunburn,
Mm-hmm.
flakiness, and all that. And it takes like 4 to 6 weeks to like kick in.
Oh wow.
There was one called 5-HTP. I think that's 5-hydroxytryptophan.
Yeah,
So
you told me to get that.
yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
one that'll help you like with sleep because it causes like drowsiness potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take it at night, like it helps reuptake serotonin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so like you'll wake up with more energy as opposed to like the serotonin that gets spent is like, we're gonna revive you and you get to use it and continue to build and boost yourself instead of feel like you're constantly fighting from behind. And the other one I took, excuse me, and the one I took, not the other one, but the one I took was SAM-E, capital S, capital A, capital M dash E, which is the S adenosylmethionine, I think. Um, and for my people who are not chemically astute, the S denotes how it is oriented in 3D space. Little do people know you can't just put a chemical together.
Mm-hmm.
Like depending on how that chemical is oriented in 3D space will determine its function.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who want to understand it like this, put your shoes on. You don't think twice about it. You have your toes facing the front.
Yeah.
What would you do if your toes were facing your heels? Well, Chris, that doesn't make sense. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
how these chemicals are oriented in 3D space. You don't want to have
Okay.
it facing backwards because it can't run a reaction. If you have it facing the right way, then you can run a reaction. It's not enough to simply exist. It has to be oriented properly.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And that one you can take in the
Jeez.
daytime. It boosted my energy levels. It kicks in about three or 4 days. You start to feel the small boost. It reaches like full power. Its levels are over 9,000
Mm.
after that was an anime reference. It
Okay.
was, it was Dragon
Okay.
Ball Z reference.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
Okay.
told you
It's
I'm
cool. You
not.
missed it because you're not an anime guy. All
Nah,
right.
I'm not.
We're
Which,
going to cycle it back.
of course, that was also due to church too, but that's a different conversation.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like after about 2 weeks though, it kicks in like full strength and it really helped bring me out of a major depression. It
Mm,
is safe to take for up to a year at a time with no reported side effects. You take it in the morning on an empty stomach with a B vitamin because B
mm,
vitamins help you metabolize energy. So it's like imagine you have to cut a yard. A B vitamin is like having three people help you cut the same yard.
mm-hmm.
It's just more efficient. It increases efficiency to do the same task.
Okay.
That's what B vitamins do for your body.
Okay.
Um, and bro, it helped me out majorly. I went from eating like a couple handfuls of chips to like actually eating meals again in a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like, and it wasn't like, oh, depression's gone. It's like, nah, I was still fighting it. And it was like, yo, if I slipped for a couple of days, like you could feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I was like, yo, I need to continue taking this because it is, a really beautiful like supplement that's helping me out. But there are things that are out there and they perform just as well as like Zoloft and some of the other like more famous medications that are made to help like treat, depression
Mm-hmm.
and bipolar, well, I should say bipolarism, but depression and anxiety. With some of those like symptoms, depending on how strong depression and anxiety is, can like trigger bipolarism.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You just back and forth, or if you have it, it like can really cause it to just punch through.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, there are treatments over the counter to help out. You know, I take a vitamin D supplement, and ever since major depression last year, I've been regularly doing that. Side note, Black people, I thoroughly encourage you to take vitamin D, because as Black people and brown people also, we don't get enough vitamin D because
Hmm.
melanin tends to block UV rays,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right? And of course, like melanin is produced in response to getting hit by UV rays. So it's like we don't die, we multiply. That is
Hmm.
melanin's like stance in life,
Hmm.
which is why we get darker when we get like more sun exposure.
Right, right, right.
But if you recall in the earlier segment, like the sun exposure gives us the UV rays to
Hmm.
cause chemical reactions to produce vitamin D inside us.
Right.
So if we got all this melanin produced to block all the sun's rays, then we aren't causing these chemical reactions to get the vitamin D internally, which is why
Right.
Black people typically don't get skin cancers. However, we do get like osteoporosis and like bone brittleness and stuff like that because we aren't getting enough vitamin D from the sunlight from being outside.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
encourage y'all
Okay.
to Black and brown people take a vitamin D supplement, especially if you got jobs and you're inside a lot. You think about it, you're in the office all day. Then
Hmm.
even if you do work out and go to the gym, you're still inside. You're not getting
Hmm.
a lot of natural light.
Hmm.
Depending on where your climate is at, you ain't got a lot of sunshine, or it's overcast.
Hmm.
Like, do your body a favor. It is safe. If you do not believe me, which I am not a doctor, as in a physician,
Yeah, yeah.
talk to a physician.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Reach out to somebody that is medically trained, that has gotten, degreed and certified by, some association nationally that is trusted, and get their opinion on this.
Right.
All right. And hopefully what I've told you is consistent with what they've been taught and it checks out. And this is something that you can start implementing in your day-to-day life.
Bro, this is good.
Yeah, man. This
This is good, man.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah. Because
And
I've already taken down some. I already noted some of the things I'm going to go ahead and buy. So
I
yeah,
promise you it'll
yeah,
change your life, man.
yeah, man. Back at
But
it again.
yeah, hey, man, I'm trying to do good by the people,
Yeah,
do
man.
good for the people. I recognize the more and more we talk, I'm like, dang, this really ain't common knowledge. That's crazy.
It's not. It's not like because we don't. I mean, depending on your background or environment, none of this stuff is even really highlighted that much.
Whew.
You learn about the basic stuff with chemistry, and then
Yeah, man.
keep going, and especially like for especially when you're not in that field, like
Yeah.
you don't. I mean, this of course this is an everyday thing. Like this is something you interact with every day, but well, you don't think about it like that. I know I
Yeah,
don't
bro.
pay attention to a lot of that stuff like that anyway. So
Oh, bro,
yeah.
man, look. Honestly, part of it is because it's a blend of me having a passion for it, but being so highly trained in it, I literally see and think this stuff. But part of it is also how you implement it, because I do have friends who are like trained in chemistry, just like I was. Like we took the same courses. In some cases, I took like additional courses, like
Hmm.
I, analytical chemistry and using all these machines that tell you all these little details, physical chemistry, what happens inside that flask, inside that
Hmm.
machine, what happens
Hmm.
with electrons, physical, organic, organometallic chemistry, which is like, man, we could talk about everything from making catalysts to make your plastics like way more efficient to
Hmm.
making your cancer medications.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like organometallics was like, yo, if there was ever any point in time for me to cuss somebody out, like this is it. Like I didn't even know
Yeah,
chemistry could do this.
yeah,
All these years.
yeah.
and this is real.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all gotta be lying.
Yeah. Shoot.
Like, taking those and like it changes how you view the world.
Yeah.
And once you're able to really like digest that and break it down, like you could present it to people like, okay, this is where you see it every day. This is how it's operationalized. Like I laugh because I didn't see something pop up all the time, and it's like, man, another day going by and I haven't used y equals mx plus b. And I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all high key use it all the time. You just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever been on a date? You ever thought about how much money you got? And if you buy X amount of items, like what is your limit? What is it gonna come out to be with taxes? Oh, you high key using
Yeah.
slope intercept. You
Yeah.
know, the more of this you do, this is how much it's gonna increase. Oh, you buying
Yeah.
drinks? Oh man, each one of these drinks is $12. If I
Yep.
buy, oh okay, y equals mx plus b. But go off. You ain't using it. You ain't learning the, let me stop off my little podium, what I'm saying, defending STEM against the masses that be hating on us.
Yeah. 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 Shoot. That's a good way to look at it, because then again, we just don't think about it like that. But
Because
this
they're
was
not
a
gonna talk about dating and drinks in the classroom. They're so focused on theory that
yeah.
they don't think about application.
Right, right. So and this actually helped a lot with figuring out how to manage anxiety and depression
Yes.
on a more, I guess a more holistic perspective,
Yeah.
because
And
that's something that like is always been something since I've acknowledged it. That's something that I've dealt with, that trying to figure out, okay, like how do I, like, is this something that I can manage without going into medication again?
mhm.
Because this is something that, again, I don't want to deal with medication like that. Ugh, that is.
And quick side note, and
Mhm.
I say this with all humility and all respect. Um, Physicians tend to run things when it comes to our like physiological needs and responses.
Mhm.
And I thoroughly 100% wholly respect, acknowledge the need for, and just give reverence to their profession, because we all have specialties,
Right.
right? The one thing we also have to recognize is that physicians don't have all the knowledge. Chemists don't have all the knowledge either, right? We
Mhm.
all specialize in something different.
Mhm.
As a chemist, especially somebody who currently works in the industry where I make medications, therapies, and so forth,
Mhm.
the stuff that I make goes to the physicians to give to you. So
Right.
they know more about the body. I know about what I gave them to put in your body.
Right.
And with our knowledge combined, we have an understanding that, hey, while I gave you this, there are more things that I can make, and there are multiple ways to fix that issue.
Right.
Now, if this is the issue that pops, then on the business side, business people are like, yo, we're going to keep this, and this is what we're going to push.
Mhm.
But I don't want it to be understated that there are remedies that aren't necessarily like something that comes from like, and I say this with all due respect, but like, Pfizer, Merck, or, some of these larger companies,
Mhm.
Bayer and so forth. And it's like, not that they aren't trustworthy, it's just that there is more than one means to an end.
Right.
And so for some people, some of these issues really can be mediated or mitigated by a really nice diet and good exposure and interaction.
Mhm.
Some people you might need one of these medications from these companies, and some people you might be able to take something over the counter. It
Right.
really varies from person to person because we all vary, and the body is a big chemical reactor.
Right.
And genetically, that means we all are slightly different in how we process those reactions.
Mhm.
Some things are common across the board, some things aren't.
Right.
So, don't be afraid to explore your options and get a really firm understanding of everything that you need. All right. So, everybody, I thank y'all for tuning in, listening to me, the Blackimist, aka Kristen Robinson, or really I should say Kristen Robinson, aka the Blackimist.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either or works. But man, again, my goal with all of these episodes is just to provide a very open, a very free, but still informative dialogue, blending real life as well as science together. Uh, you know, Again, I forgot to tell y'all this in the beginning, but if anybody had any concerns, questions, or whatever, you're able to reach out to me, and you can find all of my contact info by going to Linktree, my Linktree, which for people who are unfamiliar with what Linktree is, it is an aggregate link that when you go to this hyperlink or this website, it presents all of the different mediums in which you can contact me. So if you go to linktr.ee/everyday genius, and you enter that in, you're able to access how you can listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. You can actually watch this particular episode on YouTube. You can go to the Facebook, which is facebook.com/everydaygenius365. And you can also access the Instagram page, which is instagram.com/everydaygenius365. Or if you simply type in Everyday Genius 365 in the Instagram app, you're also able to access this. I will be posting, time to time content that is funny, scientifically relevant, and informative all at the same time.
That's good. Sounds good. Sounds good. You can find me at Derrick_OTS, or just follow the OTS brand, OTS Media Co. All social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, youtube.com/OTS, OTS Media Co. Looking at link in the bio, you find everything from that point as well.
Yes, I encourage y'all to please do that. OTS is a company that supports multiple types of podcasts that deliver multiple types of content. So everything from relationships and marriage to wrestling to music to movies and media to science. And there is something for everyone. So I do encourage you to go to these links, check out some of the other podcasts, give people feedback. We're humans just like you. We listen, we'll grow, we'll continue to give you good content. And you'll also be able to see more and more of Derrick, the man, his well-groomed beard and his shadow fade, which he tried to get all extra fancy. Because I remember that Jason Tatum jersey being in the background.
Oh, it's been there since I've had this setup.
You said since you had that fade.
This no.
You said the teeth whitening. No, I'm just playing, man.
Bro, I'll tell you right now. Let me learn how to fade my own hair. It is over.
Oh, big light skin energy.
Over, bro. I swear on everything. Swear on everything.
Hey, go ahead and get a heart cut in the corner of your head.
Hey man, I'm not that light skin. Hey, look, I only look like this because the lights are on me. That's it.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
I'm peanut butter.
All right.
Yeah.
I know I'm Nutella, bro. Since we lying right now. That's cool. In fact, I am actually black. Let's go with that. Juicy J on spin wheels, spinning like a pinwheel. I am crunchy.
Hey, yo.
All right, let me stop while I get the clown. gonna bring back the Jalen Rose for everybody. Really from my man Blade Icewood. Shout out to Detroit. 3-3 got mad love for you. 2 for 8, you get love too. Man. 99 all day, baby.
Appreciate you for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, man. It's fun every time. I appreciate you for letting me have a show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No doubt, man. We'll do this again for sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man.
All right.